Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, boys and or girls. Welcome to Fantasy Football Harsh Reality. I am your host, Greg Romero Wilson, and it is Saturday. It is Set Your Lineup Saturday. We're heading into week 9 of this particular season, which, again, much like Christmas, it comes so slow and then goes so fast. Jonathan Mesh, Brian Bentley, welcome to the show. I'm sorry I've been remiss. I haven't been doing this. I've been traveling. I've been working. I've been on the road the last 4 weekends in a row, which is not like me. As a comedian, we're supposed to travel a lot, but I actually try and limit it to 2 weekends a month at the most. But the money's been good, baby. The money's been there, and I had to take them dollars. And then I've also been shooting a couple of TV shows, and so I'm going to be on this big new show for ABC that's coming out. So it's been a very exciting time career-wise, but of course it has interfered with the thing that I actually enjoy doing more maybe than stand-up or acting, fantasy football. But we're back, baby. It's week 9 rather. And I think for everybody, this is a pivotal week. I mean, this is the week. Robert Pulliam, welcome to the show. Ray Anderson, welcome to the show. Talking fantasy football here. If you have, Brian Bentley, yes. Listen, if you have lineup questions, it's Set Your Lineup Saturday. And listen, like everybody else, I am struggling with my lineups. I have so many questions. Talk about go with your gut week. I was one of those guys that played Kenyon Drake on Thursday night. And I was on Twitter and I was on Instagram and my watching, you could, and this is why, fuck best ball. You fucking best ball pussies who just fucking like, let it just set your line for you based on however they did. No. That is not what fantasy football is about. Okay, because I sat there, all the experts were like, don't play Kenyon Drake. Don't you play him. But I was like, and I said, I vacillated back and forth. I put him in my lineup. I took him out of my lineup. I put him in my lineup. I took him out of my lineup. And finally I was like, you know what? I was on the set and one of my co-stars on the show was like, what's your record? And I said 3-5. And he goes, then what do you care, man? You gotta, you know what I mean? It's late in the game. You gotta take some shots down the field. And I'd been wanting to play Kenyon Drake. And I made the argument about Kenyon Drake that running backs tend to ball out on their first game back in a big position. We've seen it over and over. We saw it with Chase Edmonds. We've seen it just over and over again. This dynamic has played itself out over the years. I've seen it over and over. And I was like, I don't want to miss it if Kenyon Drake goes off. So I put him in, rolled the dice, wham bam, bingo bango, 28 points, totally fucking worth it. So that's why sometimes you just got to go with your gut. And luckily that and Emmanuel Sanders, another guy that I'm like, listen, this upgrade to San Francisco, a team with a phenomenal defense, a great quarterback who needed a really dynamic receiver, that paid off to 22 points, 20 to 22, depending on your league, in the bank. I'm up in all 3 of my games. Now, if you're like me, you agree there's nothing worse than a big Thursday night lead. Because you may feel comfortable going into the weekend, but nothing is more of a mirage than a big Thursday night lead. That's the lead that's going to disappear come Sunday morning. And so I'm still wrestling over every one of my dilemmas, all of my matchup problems. Now, one of the things that I have a problem with that, everyone seems to be fine with is this idea of playing Philip Lindsay on Sunday. Denver going up against Cleveland. And my problem with it is this. As much as it looks good on paper, really, to me, the sleeper defense of the weekend is the Cleveland Browns. And the reason being is Denver is having to play an unknown rookie quarterback. Now, there have been instances like we saw last year when Oakland came out with that one guy, I forgot his name, I don't even think he plays anymore, who was like their practice squad third stringer. And it wasn't the Raiders, it was somebody else, but the Raiders were playing him, and then he ended up just demolishing the Raiders in a big game. Chino LaForge, welcome to the show. We're talking fantasy football. Tim Bateman, welcome to the show, talking fantasy football. So that was a situation where the guy came out and I expected the Oakland defense to absolutely ram this guy. But of course, Oakland was tanking so that they could get those valuable picks, those draft picks. And so they let this guy run all over him. I don't think that's the case this week. Cleveland wants to play to win. They're hungry for a win. And that's why, what do you do when you face a rookie quarterback? You stack the box to stop the run, to force that rook to throw the ball. I think Cleveland sees a lot of sacks and a pick six along with 2 to 3 interceptions tomorrow. I think it's a massive day. And consequently, I think it's going to be a bad day for Philip Lindsay and Royce Freeman. I think they're going to be focused on stopping those guys. And let's not forget, it's not Cleveland's defense that's been failing them. It's their offense. It's Baker Mayfield and his fucking interceptions. So he's one of those guys that while it looks good on paper, I don't trust it. I don't believe it. I'm not buying it just yet. Tim Bateman, exactly. Cleveland's D-line is loaded. Hunter Henry or Mark Andrews? To be honest, Hunter Henry. Without question, Hunter Henry, Jonathan Mesh, good question. And I say that because Hunter Henry obviously has a better matchup down there in San Diego than Mark Andrews does going against that Patriots defense. The guy that I like on the Baltimore side of the ball, although Mark Andrews might become the outlet guy, he might. Because, see, this is the thing. People have been talking about the way New England's defense, yes, they've been scoring 1 million points. Yes, they've been doing all these amazing things, but they've been playing jokers. They've been playing Miami. They've been playing the Jets. They've been playing the Bills, So now they're up against, the video game. They're up against Lamar. And the problem that's going to do is obviously the game plan for Belichick is to shut down Lamar, which means he's going to have to bring in the defense to close the ends around him, which is going to open up shots outside. And Marquise Brown is back. And I think Marquise Brown gets loose down the field because of their attempts. When Lamar Jackson starts running outside, I think that's going to open it up for Marquise Brown to get down the field. And I think you're looking at least one big-time score from Marquise Brown. And honestly, that might open things up for Mark Andrews, but not the same way that Hunter Henry just has a better matchup. And as we all know in these things, it all becomes really matchup-based at a certain point. So, for me, in one of my leagues, one of my biggest things that I'm struggling with, obviously, guy like is John. Okay, let's back it up. Here we go. We got some more questions. Ken Lewis coming in here. He says, Detroit's defense against Oakland or the Philly defense against Chicago? I'm going to be honest, Ken. I think you need to go on the waiver wire and get somebody else. I think these are both. Detroit's defense isn't a big scoring defense. And the Philly defense against Chicago, to be honest, again, this is another one where they're saying don't play David Montgomery because he's going Philly defense terrible against the pass, good against the run. But their defensive line is banged up. They're missing 2 of their starters, I believe, which I think is actually going to make for a very long day as they try to run David Montgomery, who's starting to feel himself. I don't like either of those defenses. If I had to go with one, I guess Detroit. But my advice, honestly, Ken, is see if you can find it. In fact, see if the Jets defense is still out there. They're on a lot of waiver wires against Miami. I would go with the Jets defense in that instance. Chris Carson or Mark Walton? This is another good one. Seattle's got a good game. Who are they up against? Let's take a look. Seahawks are up against Tampa Bay. Which is the thing. The only good thing that Tampa Bay does right is stop the run. And Mark Walton, he is up against the Jets, but the Jets have been, while they are, the only reason to play them is because they're against Miami. But if anybody has a good day, it's going to be Mark Walton. That said, I think you got to play Chris Carson. Chris Carson has been in absolute beast mode, even though he's against Tampa Bay in that instance. It's a bit of a coin flip. Really the better matchup is Mark Walton, but Chris Carson has been the far more dependable running back this whole season. I think you have to play Chris Carson. That's just me. I think you're rolling the dice on Mark Walton. I want to roll the dice on him too. Let me share with you my problems that I have with Mark Walton, because I want to play him in the same team, in the same league that I played Kenyon Drake. I have Jamal Williams. I have Melvin Gordon. I've got all these guys that are basically, they're in timeshares. Philip Lindsay. Okay, they're all in fucking timeshares. And because of that, I'm kind of considering Mark Walton, because at least we know Mark Walton is the lead back. He's going to carry the ball. Jonathan Mesh, Gallup, Amendola, or Landry in the flex. Now, a lot of people are very high on Gallup this particular week in this matchup. Me, not so much, because we've seen it when it's a favorable matchup before, and he didn't do shit. However, Amendola, he's one of those deep plays. I mean, he's the wide receiver 3. I got to be honest with you. The guy I like in this is Jarvis Landry, and let me tell you why. Denver has one great corner, and that guy is going to be on ODB. Their number 2 corner is garbage. I think he's a rookie, and that's why I think Jarvis Landry is going to be the guy that's going to be open for business all fucking day long. If I'm being honest, for me, it's Jarvis Landry. Would you rather have Chris Carson or Alvin Kamara the rest of the season working on a multiple player? Of course you are, Jonathan Gregory. Of course you are. Because this is what, and I've been listening to you, and I've gotten much deeper into trades this year than I've ever gotten before. I, of course, made that huge 3-player trade, which might turn out to save my season in my traditional league. And I'm like anybody else. I have Tom Brady, but I picked up Mahomes in that trade because of the injury, and I'm just hoping that Mahomes, but actually I'm hoping Mahomes doesn't play this Sunday, because I think this is one of those rare games where Tom Brady will actually have to throw the ball. That's the thing. Like, he's been decent all season, but he's been not really what he could be because the defense has been so awesome. He just didn't need to throw the ball. Now, back to your question, Chris Carson or Alvin Kamara the rest of the season, I'm going to have to say Chris Carson, only because of the injuries that Alvin Kamara has had. At the beginning of the season, I was saying that Alvin Kamara, to me, was the number 1 overall pick, above Saquon, above McCaffrey, because he was in a better situation. But then, Cam Newton, the great ruiner, he went down and opened things up for C-McC. And Alvin Kamara got injured. And Latavius Murray's been playing amazing. And because of those injuries, I think even when Kamara is healthy, I think he's going to be in a timeshare with the Phillip Lindsay, Royce Freeman, like the Jamal Williams, Aaron Jones. Although Aaron Jones is clearly dominating that right now. I think it's going to be more like the Aaron Jones, Jamal Williams thing, to where it should be dominant Kamara, but they're still going to keep Latavius Murray active. So for me, without question, Chris Carson. Jack, what are you doing? Welcome to the show. Susan, welcome to the show. Who should we bet real money on? Well, I've been looking at that too. I placed my bets, and I will have to look up. Oh, actually, they're on my phone, so I can't look them up. But some of the guys I liked, I think it was Detroit +3. I like that because I think Matthew Stafford's going to throw a bunch of balls. I thought that was a pretty good one. So let's look at those games. We'll go through the games one at a time here in just a second. But one thing is, okay, so so I have Mark Walton, Melvin Gordon, Phillip Lindsay, and Jamal Williams. And I could also play Sanu. So those are the guys that I have as a potential flex. Right now, I have Mark Walton in there because I believe he's going to handle the ball more than anybody else. And let's talk about the Chargers and this situation with Melvin Gordon and with Eckler, because they fired their offensive coordinator, thankfully, got rid of that fucking guy who was ruining the fucking season. But now that Lynn is calling the plays, doesn't mean an uptick for Melvin Gordon, that they actually start playing better, or does it mean they go back to giving Eckler more chances? And personally, I think it means more Eckler, because they were doing better with Eckler than they are with Gordon, and that's why I'm shying away from Gordon this week. I need to see what the new game plan is, and we really don't know. Let's see. Casey activated Chad Henne, so Mahomes is likely out. And they were saying that Mahomes was... And listen, I want him to be out. I want him to come back perfectly healthy for next week. I think I can win this week with Tom Brady. I think this is a great week for Tom Brady because, like I said, against this dynamic Baltimore offense that's going to create a little havoc for them, that's going to make it more competitive, I think Tom's going to have to come back, and he's going to have to be the GOAT. He's going to have to be Tommy Terrific this Sunday, so I think that bodes very well. The OC at LA, the Chargers, was a scapegoat. Maybe he was, but the fact of the matter is they were playing like shit, and they were making play calls that the defense was able to read, because they were getting stopped on the goal line, for Christ's sake. Why are you running it up the gut 3 times in a row? Swing it outside, short pass to Henry. There was a lot of bad decision making. And yes, maybe he is the scapegoat, but we don't know. That's the mystery of this weekend. What is going to come out of... What's in the bags? What are we going to get? I don't know how to say it. So I'm really Todd Larson. Welcome to the show. So I'm very concerned. I personally, I think Eckler is the safe play. And in fact, in daily fantasy, I've been taking shares of Eckler. I've been taking shares of, who else? I'd have to look it up. But there are a couple of guys that I think are the sleeper choices. Oh, Mark Walton. So these are guys that I've been taking slices of in daily fantasy because I think they're the guys that are going to benefit from some of these changes. So tell me, guys, who would you play in the flex? Walton, Melvin Gordon, Philip Lindsay, Mohamed Sanu, or Jamal Williams. And here's the fucked up thing. People don't really consider Jamal Williams because Aaron Jones has been doing so great. But let's look at Jamal Williams last. Whoops, I didn't mean to do that. Let's look at Jamal. Oh, and I also have DJ Moore, but I'm not trusting DJ Moore. But look at Jamal Williams' last 3 games. Versus Detroit, 26 points. Versus Oakland, 11 points. Versus Kansas City, 17 points. And so while all of the focus seems to be on Aaron Jones, Jamal Williams is still putting up very serviceable, consistent numbers. And so in many ways, even though nobody's talking about him, nobody's thinking about him, in terms of consistency, okay, so those are his last 3 games, 26, 11, and 27. Now, let's look at Philip Lindsay's last 3 games, okay? Let's look at Philip Lindsay's last 3 games. Philip Lindsay, 14, 3, and 10, okay? So now, let's look at Melvin Gordon's last 3 games. 6, 7, and 10. Numerically, on paper, the best guy is Jamal Williams. So, and Jonathan Gregory, you're saying play Melvin Gordon. And again, I kind of want to because I'm wondering, is this change going to help him out? And the Chargers are playing Green Bay, which is soft against the run. They're not hard against the run. They're a decent defense, but they've proven that they can be gashed against the run. So I'm so Gordon, listen, I had Gordon in there all week, but the Jets can also be gashed against the run. So I like Mark Walton in that game. It's going to be raining, which means they're not going to be able to throw the ball, which means they're going to have to run the ball a lot. I don't know. I'm vibing on that Mark Walton right now. But I like the advice. Listen, Gordon's who I've had in there all week. In fact, right now, let's just go ahead and put in Melvin Gordon. But sometimes we get caught up in the name. Sometimes we get caught up in the name value, and that changes our perspective instead of trusting our guts. And to be honest, you know what? I'm ultimately probably going to put in Jamal Williams against the Chargers. That should be a fairly high-scoring affair. I really like that game. I think Green Bay's gonna score a lot. I think Aaron Rodgers is gonna start something. Philip Rivers is gonna want to. Like sometimes you see the other guy balling out, and so you ball out. So I think we're looking at real fireworks in that Green Bay Chargers game. Everyone forgets Gordon didn't even practice. No, I agree with that, but we already did the 3rd time's the charm, and that's the thing with the coaching change. Does that mean they start giving the ball back to Eckler? That's the question. Kimberly Hewitt, welcome to the show. We're talking fantasy football. Go Cowboys! Look at me, all Cowboys down. Do you see this? Look at this. This is it. Like with my co-host, Dak Prescott. There's Dak right there. And this, of course, is what my kitchen office looks like. I have to run, but thoughts on Zach Pascal with T.Y. Hunt. Okay, let's talk about Zach Pascal. This is one of those situations where all of a sudden all these receptions opened up. But these guys, just because they're the next man up, doesn't mean they can do what T.Y. Hilton could do. If anything, I think Jacoby Brissett, who people have been counting on to win games, I think he is valuable. I think it goes through the floor, and I think it makes it a lot tougher on Marlon Mack. I think people are going to focus on stopping Marlon Mack, and I think that's going to try and force them to throw to these lesser-known receivers. And I know everyone's like, Zach Pascal, but we've heard this before, and just because he's the next man up doesn't mean he's a superstar. Now, he might be, but I wouldn't play him this week. I wouldn't touch him this week. Raiders! That's right, listen, but your Raiders ate a dick last week. They ate a big fat donkey dick. So, let's not go saying Raiders. But listen, I think they got a great matchup against Detroit. I think that's going to be another high-flying game. I love that one for Josh Jacobs. I like it for is it Tyrell Williams? Tyrell Williams, yes. I like those guys. And, of course, Darren Waller, I think, balls out. I think he has a great game. So you're saying Gordon. Let's look at some of my other dilemmas. And of course, whatever your dilemmas are, put them in there too. Obviously, I went with Emmanuel Sanders. Now, here's my major problem over in this one. I need a wide receiver too, and I have DJ Moore, and that's about it. I have DJ Moore and Sterling Shepard. And I don't want to play Sterling Shepard. I really don't, because going against my Cowboys on Monday night, I don't want to play him. DJ Moore has quietly had a decent floor. He has no explosive games, but let's look at his last 3 games. If you look at DJ Moore's last 3 games, let's take the trends. Let's look at this. Last 3 games, he did 5 points, 12 points, 12 points. Okay? Versus Tampa Bay, versus Jacksonville, versus Houston. And then before that, he had 17 points and 13 points. So he's quietly putting up a consistent low-floor game. I really do like DJ Moore in this instance, more so than Sterling Shepard, who seems to get a concussion every time he takes a shower. So, I got him just in case something happens and I needed a receiver. And generally speaking, he was the wide receiver 1 going into this season. And I just need help in terms of the wide receiver position there. I picked up Josh Gordon. I think he's going to be great in Seattle, but obviously it's way too soon. Again, DJ Moore, not explosive, but you see what my choices are. They're garbage. I already played Emmanuel Sanders. I really don't have anything else. And I tell you a guy like Jonnu Smith. This guy, Jonnu Smith, the tight end, listen, he's a sleeper play. People aren't talking about him. But in a season where tight ends are at an absolute premium, Jonnu Smith has showed up for this Tennessee team, especially when you're talking about a team now with Ryan Tannehill, who's throwing the ball but needs that safety outlet. I love Jonnu Smith. If you're looking for a tight end, I think he's a guy to get. Don't get me wrong, I did still try to trade for Jamal Williams for Darren Waller, but the trade didn't. I offered Philip Lindsay for Waller, and so far I haven't got anything. I do love Josh Gordon. I loved it because he's explosive and he could do big things, but he didn't do shit in New England. But I've been saying that you just need the right opportunity, and I think this is absolutely the right opportunity in Seattle. So, because DK Metcalf, well, he's had, like last week, yes, he got 2 touchdowns, and I'm sure everybody's going to play him this week, and I'm going to be the one to tell you, don't play him this week, because the fact of the matter is, while he had 1 great game, he never gets more than about 4 receptions a game. He's a 4-reception guy, and that's not what you want. And the big hitter stuff, yes, last week, 2 touchdowns, but, I don't think you can play him consistently, and you're looking for guys. You're looking for consistency at all turns. Maxwell, what's up, buddy? Welcome to the show. Stafford or Wentz this weekend? I want you to look in my eyes, which are very small, but look in my eyes. Play Stafford. Don't you think about playing Wentz. Now, that's just me. Go with your gut. But I think Stafford versus Oakland is a far superior opportunity than Wentz versus Chicago. A Chicago team that's mad. A Chicago team that's been humiliated. A Chicago team that's defense is looking to come back and beat somebody up. I don't like Wentz in this one, but I love Stafford. I think you actually have to go there. Waller is greater than Lindsey plus Freeman. And yes, that may well be the case. But running backs are at a premium too. And Lindsey, well, hey, listen. But listen, that's why he didn't take the trade, I'm guessing, is because I was like, I probably should have packaged it. I should have given him Lindsey and a receiver, but I have no receivers. Well, no, I do, but I need them. I need the receivers, and I couldn't do it. You can't make every trade happen. For sure. Absolutely play Stafford. Stafford against, Tim Bateman. Stafford against Oakland, no-brainer. Thank you. I totally agree. That's my feeling too. Let's look at my other team. Let's look at my Friends and Family League. Let's see what I got going over there. And that's a league where I'm playing I'm playing my cousin Aaron, who was, crowing through. He was the guy that had the team that went like 5-0. It was like, I'm the greatest, I can't be beat. And lately, now his team's falling apart. He's starting to lose. And this week, I'm out on him pretty big with the Emmanuel Sanders situation. And that's the league where I made the trade for Aaron Rodgers. I had to give up Le'Veon Bell and DJ Chark, which really hurt me. But other than that, I thought it's going to be the kind of trade because I didn't trust Kyler Murray versus San Francisco, and then Kyler Murray got 23 points, so it actually probably would have worked out pretty well, except for the fact that Kyler Murray, he wouldn't have scored 23 points. He hit that 180 order. Other than that, he was having a terrible game. So, and listen, next time they play San Francisco, which is in 3 weeks, I wouldn't touch him again. And yes, Jonathan Mesh, you are killing it in my friends and family league because you have both Dalvin Cook and Christian McCaffrey. You motherfucker! Oh, that one just kills me, man. You got what a tandem you got there. And ultimately, Jonathan Mesh, you may win the league with that particular setup. I mean, it's just unreal. But looking at my team, don't do that. I went to some other bullshit. Go back. Let's try and load box scores. So looking at my friends and family team. And by the way, has anyone else found that ESPN loads really, really slow this year? Like really slow. So bad. But yes, Mesh, you definitely have the team to beat with having both McCaffrey and Cook. Yeah, I'd listen. Talk about hitting the fucking lottery. Nailed it with that this season. And now you're the number one team in this league without question. And I think you're going to be tough to beat. But now I have Rodgers. I've got Fournette. I'm running Montgomery. I've got Emmanuel Sanders. I'm playing Marquise Brown because, again, I think he's only got to get loose for one. He's only got to break loose for one. And I think the Patriots have not played a guy like Lamar Jackson. I think they're going to focus on shutting him down. So I think he's going to have to sail the ball down the field. And I think ultimately, while Lamar Jackson doesn't have the same numbers he's been having, I think that's going to create the opportunity. And again, Marquise Brown only has to hit that one. He's only got to hit that one. Jonathan Gregory with a trade. I give up Ertz, Carson, and Drake. I receive Kamara, Gurley, and AJ Green. Do I hit accept? Wow. That is... I say yes, absolutely. Because here's the thing. Ertz and Drake. Ertz, garbage. I traded Ertz as well for Emmanuel Sanders. That worked out great. Carson is very good, but versus Kamara, you maybe do. And Drake, the problem with Drake is, while he had that one great game, David Johnson is coming back. They're not going to stick with Kenyon Drake. They're going to be moving over. And yes, Cockburn is turning it up as well. Jason Cockburn beat my ass last week. That's one of the reasons that I made the trade to try and get a real quarterback that was going to generate numbers, Aaron Rodgers. So because Cockburn absolutely put that cock right up my ass. Ooh, that would hurt. He even texted me. He goes, "Tell me how my cock tastes." I was like, "It burns. It burns." Oh, hit it, Trader John. Exactly, hit it. I do have Darren Waller in that league. I'm playing Jalen Samuels because Jalen Samuels is taking, obviously, Connor is expected to be out. So that's a situation I have to monitor to make sure that Connor doesn't play. If he doesn't, I'm playing Jalen Samuels because when Jalen Samuels plays, he does very, very well. He has a very low floor. I mean, a very high floor. I think he's got a supreme opportunity. I do have Alshon Jeffrey. I could put in Hunter Henry, who has a very good matchup. I like him a lot. Mohamed Sanu and DK Metcalf. And again, DK Metcalf, he's one of those guys, he's just not a high-volume guy. He's a boom or bust guy. Alshon Jeffrey, he's going against that Chicago defense. Now, here's the thing about that. Deshaun Jackson is supposed to play. And if Deshaun Jackson plays, that's going to take some of the heat off of Alshon Jeffrey, and that's definitely going to open up opportunity for him against Chicago. But I still don't like it. I'm going to stay Marquise Brown. Maybe it's a dart throw, but I got a vibe. I got a real vibe about him in this game. I like him. I think that guy's a home run hitter, especially being gone for a few weeks. I mean, if he plays, I think he might be. Again, we only got to have him hit that one. He hits one big, deep one, and that's your day. That's all you need from him. So I Jonathan Gregory says he likes Metcalf this weekend. I don't think the matchup is bad up against Tampa Bay. Again, they're much stronger against the run than they are against the pass. But again, he just doesn't see that many balls. Last week, I think that if you were there for last week, throw up the confetti, celebrate, you nailed it. And I hate it. It's one of those ones where all the experts are like, this is a big DK Metcalf day. And whenever they say that, I'm like, anytime you say that, it's too easy. But in fact, it was DK Metcalf day. And a lot of people like him again in this matchup as well. Maybe last week was the turning point. Maybe this week is the week that he starts really turning it up. But I I don't see the volume. The volume's not there. I like Tyler Lockett. Obviously, I think he's the volume play. Yes, start Tyler Lockett with confidence. I think it's Tyler Lockett day. I think DK Metcalf has 4 receptions as per his usual, but that doesn't mean he's necessarily going to find the end zone. But obviously, for DK, Will Dissly disappearing has done a lot for his red zone looks. So going through the games, tomorrow morning, Houston, Jacksonville. I think this is a points bonanza. I love this one. DJ Chark, I like in this one. Carlos Hyde, I like in this one. I like the receivers. I'm interested to see if Kenny Stills is going to get back online. This is going to be where Kenny Stills gets back online. Or rather, not gets back online, but comes online. Comes awake. I think there's a big opportunity for Kenny Stills. That being said, I dropped him. For Josh Gordon, baby. Maybe that's stupid, but I think Josh Gordon has an opportunity to really make an impact down the stretch for Seattle, where Stills, we have yet to see him really fit into the game plan. But if he is going to, I think this is the opportunity for him to do so. Leonard Fournette, I like everybody in this game. Play this guy, and everybody's been playing that Houston tight end Fells. Fire Fells up. I think he has a great game. I think this is a points bonanza down there. Gardner Minshew I like, and of course I think my man Deshaun Watson delivers 30 beautiful points in fantasy football land. Jonathan Gregory stills his whack. And that may be exactly. I mean, I was, because everyone was, and again, this is that thing. Just because one guy goes away doesn't mean the next guy's going to get all his opportunities. Stills was a guy that they were saying, oh, Will Fuller's gone. Stills the deep threat. Start Stills. Guess who started him? Guess who lost? Okay, so, not buying it. Indianapolis is Pittsburgh. Now, here's the thing. I like the Pittsburgh defense in this one. You're looking for a sneaky defense because Indianapolis lost T.Y. Hilton. Yes, they have Zach Pascal. Yes, they have these other guys. But obviously, they're going to stack the box. It's going to make it tougher on Marlon Mack. You still start Marlon Mack. You still play Marlon Mack, but expect less because Pittsburgh is going to be focusing on shutting him down. I think, and then on the Pittsburgh side of the ball, Indianapolis is actually a very good defense, even though Jalen Samuels is stepping in and they're saying play Jalen Samuels. I would temper expectations. I'm playing him as a flex, even though he's projected as an RB2. But I think he's a good flex start. And again, I think there's going to be some real opportunity here. Hopefully what we saw last week with Juju Smith finally coming online, I think there's a fine opportunity for Juju Smith to continue that trend. And Deontay Johnson, listen, if you're starting Deontay Johnson, God bless you. But this is another guy that I think some games he's going to be there and some games he's totally going to just disappear. And I think this is a disappearing act week for Deontay Johnson. Let's see, Chicago and Philadelphia. I mean, again, the Chicago defense is great. It's their offense that has failed them. Absolutely failed. The offense has failed to stay on the field. The offense has failed to give them time to rest. But now that they're relying on David Montgomery, to be honest, I like David Montgomery because I think, listen, this guy, he's a tackle breaker. All he needed was the opportunities. And Philadelphia is missing 2 of their starters on the line. They're not as strong against the run as they've been throughout the previous part of the season. I'm kind of liking David Montgomery in this one. I know everyone's saying Allen Robinson should have a great day, but we just don't know that to be true. It could turn out to be Taylor Gabriel. We don't know who's going to be the guy that's going to get a bunch of the receptions in Chicago. I would stay away from the receivers, even though it is a great matchup for them. Obviously, Allen Robinson is probably... Ali Malik, welcome to the show. Even though Robinson is clearly the play, I temper your expectations. I don't. Who knows who it's going to be? Could be Robinson. Could be Taylor Gabriel. And I like Taylor Gabriel in daily fantasy play. I think he's a sneaky daily fantasy play because he's cheap and he could go off. On the Philadelphia side of the ball, listen, I know everyone's talking about Jordan Howard and the revenge game, and the same with Alshon Jeffrey. But I think Alshon Jeffrey has a less of a chance at a revenge game. But again, if Djax plays, that's going to open up some opportunities for him for sure. And in terms of the running game, yes, Jordan Howard, revenge. But, Miles Sanders started to really take off last week. And so now you don't know who's going to really. Jordan Howard should be the lead back, and he should be playing with revenge in mind. But Miles Sanders seems to be the more explosive running back and might be the running back they wind up going with more or less. So that's going to be tough to watch. And Chicago's still a great defense. That's the thing. Chicago's still a great defense. So temper your expectations, even though it is in Philly and a revenge game for Jordan Howard. New Jersey at Miami. I mean, listen, this is a get-right game for both teams. For both teams, they should have an opportunity. There might be a lot of points to come out of this. I mean, the Jets, Le'Veon Bell should absolutely have a great game. This is the game. One, squeaky wheel gets the grease. And Le'Veon Bell made it very clear that he wants more touches. Guess what he's going to get this week, folks? More touches. That's the only reason I was able to make that trade for Aaron Rodgers. He needed a running back that was going to deliver this week. This is the week that Le'Veon Bell delivers. And DJ Chark too. So I gave up my number 2 running back and my number 1 wide receiver because I really needed production at the quarterback. And Aaron Rodgers is fucking hot fire, baby. Hot fire. Minnesota and Kansas City. This is one of those ones. I mean, again, there should be a lot of points scored this week. This should be a very high-scoring week across the board. I don't often say that, but Minnesota versus Kansas City. I mean, Tyreek Hill, you have to play because it's actually he 13 targets last week. Like, Matt Moore is looking for him. Matt Moore is playing better. So Matt Moore, Kelsey, you're going to have to play Kelsey. I think Minnesota's going to try and shut one of those two down. I think it's going to be Tyreek. So, and again, Xavier Rhodes is going to be on Tyreek, but nobody's got that speed, So again, I think it's going to be a lot of points. I think Stephon Diggs absolutely balls out. I think Dalvin Cook. Listen, that's where like in daily fantasy, pairing somebody like Taylor Gabriel, who's cheap, so that you can afford Dalvin Cook, who's expensive. I think Dalvin Cook ends this weekend as the RB1 pretty handily. I think he's the choice. Although C-McC, those two. So fuck you, John Mesh, for having that fucking super team. It's unbelievable. Any Kansas City running back we're starting? No. I would stay away from all the Kansas City running backs this week because I think that Minnesota defense is absolutely going to shut those down. They're going to try to force Matt Moore to throw the ball. So that being the case, the sneaky play guy that might actually wind up getting the catches, and I haven't talked about him, but Demarcus Robinson. Demarcus Robinson might wind up being the guy getting the ball. I'm not playing him. I don't recommend playing him. I'm just saying, game script-wise, that might be the guy that's open. What's up, Daniel Marmolejo? What's up? How are you, brother? But overall, I wouldn't start any Kansas City running back. I think they're going to have a very tough time running against that Minnesota defense. Andy Cozell, welcome to the show. Again, we're talking fantasy football. If you have a lineup dilemma going into this weekend, post it right here. I answer your questions. My friend, other people chime in. We have a nice discussion. We have Jonathan Gregory, who's great at this. He chimes in out of Arizona. Tim Bateman. This is his first year, but he's such a sports nut. His knowledge is really fantastic, and he really he's really keyed in to what's going on. Let's talk about Tennessee and Carolina. Okay, there's another one. Should be a big points game. I like Tennessee in terms of, listen, Carolina's defense might be able to get some turnovers against Tannehill. I think Carolina defense might be able to turn the ball over on him. What they need to do, what they're going to have to do is focus on they're going to have to run the ball with Derrick Henry. It's got to be a heavy Derrick Henry day. That's the only way Tennessee has a chance to control the ball, keep Carolina off the field. Now, when it comes to C-McC, this is one of the reasons that I believe that Dalvin Cook is far and away the RB1, because Tennessee, if they do one thing well, it's shut down that run. They're a very good defense. I think they're going to make it tough on that Kyle Allen kid to just hand it to C-McC. I think they're going to have to throw the ball. So consequently, it might be a pretty good weekend for the receivers of Carolina. But Tennessee, they need to rely on Derrick Henry. They're going to have to. Now, I don't think Derrick Henry's going to go off. I think he's going to see what he's been seeing, about 74 yards. I think he's going to wind up somewhere in the, 10-point range, unfortunately. But all he has to do is break one. And I feel like it's coming. So we'll see. But if anybody's going to get the passes for Tennessee, I like Jonnu Smith. He's been turning it up. He's been consistent. I like Jonnu Smith. Now, thoughts on Danny Amendola. Thank you, Ali. Danny Amendola, my problem with Danny Amendola is just that he's the wide receiver 3. You know, could he go off? Absolutely. Can you count on him? Absolutely not, because you got Galladay in front of him, who should have a great day. Galladay, he's another one that I think you get in daily fantasy play. Marvin Jones Jr. If Galladay's covered, Marvin Jones Jr. And then they come down to Danny Amendola. Now, Sutton, I don't like Sutton at all. Again, I don't like the wide receiver. I don't like anybody, unfortunately, in Denver, because, again, the Cleveland line is going to stack up to stop the run, and then they're going to try and force this rookie quarterback to get the ball. There's not going to... You think there's any chemistry with Cortland Sutton? They don't have Emmanuel Sanders. On paper, it should have opened things up for him, but with Flacco gone, I don't think you touch... Honestly... I don't think you touch anyone on the Denver side of the ball. I think for Cleveland, this is the game where they come out and look like the Cleveland team we've been waiting for them to look like. I think, sadly, that's the case. I think, Denver, decent defense, but I think... they're going to get worn down. I think they're going to get tired. And I think Baker Mayfield has a phenomenal fourth quarter. And in fact, you want a sneaky daily fantasy play, I think this is the week you might actually could fire up Baker Mayfield. There, I said it. The Denver D, listen, it's a good Denver D, but I'm saying they're going to get tired. They're going to get worn down because their offense isn't going to be able to stay on the field. By the second half, those guys are going to be out of juice, and that is going to open things up for the Cleveland offense, particularly for Jarvis Landry, because as I said, they have one good corner. Denver has one good corner, one bad corner. Good corner is going to be all over OBJ, and so bad corner is going to be on Jarvis Landry. Big Jarvis Landry day. And I think Nick Chubb, by the end of the game, is going to be running all over them. I think this is going to be a very long, bad day for Denver. So, and again, on paper, Denver D should have a good day, but they're not going to because of the fact that they don't have a quarterback that they can rely. It's a bad situation for Denver this weekend. That's why I'm playing Phillip Lindsay in one league, because I absolutely have to. Other than that, I'm benching Phillip Lindsay. I would bench Royce Freeman if you don't have to use them, because I think that's all the defense is going to do is sit there and shut those guys down and force this rook to try and throw the ball. Start Golden Tate versus the Cowboys or Crowder versus the Dolphins. I'm going to say Crowder versus the Dolphins. I think Crowder versus the Dolphins. I like Crowder. I think he's another guy that might have a good day in daily fantasy. Another sneaky play, I think Demaryius Thomas actually might have a good day down there in Miami. Golden Tate, the problem we have here is now they're going to have, all of their weapons back. They have Saquon, they have Tate, they have Shepard, and they have Ingram. Everybody's going to be there. And the fact of the matter is the Cowboys are very good against the pass. I think they're number 4 overall against the pass. So that being the case, I would probably go with Crowder versus the Dolphins this weekend. I think is a much better matchup. I do need to stream a QB this week. I'm looking at Tannehill or Baker. I'm telling you, bro, play Baker Mayfield. I know he's been garbage all season, but I honestly think this is the game. Now, Tannehill has been decent, but I think he's got a tougher matchup against Carolina. I think, again, I think the Denver defense gets worn down, and I think Baker lights them up in the second half. For me, if you're streaming, I think, but you go with your gut. You go with your gut. Tannehill's been playing pretty decently, but Baker has better receivers than Tannehill does, and Carolina's the number 3 defense overall right now. I would not play Tannehill. I would go with Baker Mayfield. I can't believe I'm saying those words, but I think this is the Sunday where he actually looks like Baker Mayfield. Do you like the Dolphins receivers? No, I don't like any of the receivers. What do they got? Devontae Parker and a couple. Listen, if you're playing one of those guys, you're throwing darts anyway, so you're in a tough position. But I do not like any of the Dolphins receivers this weekend. I think they're going to have to run the ball, and I think especially it's going to be raining. They have a 75% chance of rain. I think it's a Mark Walton day all day. I don't like the passing game at all. Even listen, what's Fitzpatrick is better than Josh Rosen. But again, in the rain, I think it's run the ball. And the Jets defense is still a pretty good defense. So I don't like those Miami receivers. I'd stay away from them. Thank you, Ali Malik. Listen, I don't want to convince you. I just want to tell you what I'm thinking. You go with your gut. Because the problem is if I convince you and then he sucks, then it's my fucking fault you lost. And people love to blame the person that they're like, oh, that's it, I'm going based on their advice. Listen, it's your choice. At the end of the day, it's always your choice. Go with your gut. Everybody told me not to play Drake except for one guy. One guy told me to play him, and my gut had been with him, and I played him, and it ended up working. Pick up on waivers for the weekend. I don't know what that means. You got it, you got it, Tim Bateman. Tim Bateman goes, what does streaming mean? Oh, right. And then Jonathan Gregory offered, yes. Yeah, it's somebody that you're just playing just for that weekend. You're not counting on them every single week. You'll probably drop them, but you're looking at the matchup, and you're like, based on that matchup this week, I'm playing that guy. A lot of people stream defenses. A lot of people, in one of my leagues, one of the team that won, when our commissioner, the one time he won our league, he was streaming quarterbacks. His main guy went down, and so he ended up having to stream quarterbacks. And he won streaming quarterbacks. So that's what streaming is. It just means you're just picking them, playing them this week, and then you have no desire to play him going forward. And I think did I lose my internet connection? Maybe. I don't know. It's saying I have poor internet. I don't know what happened here. Let's keep going. Washington and Buffalo. Obviously, this Buffalo defense, this is the play. This is absolutely the play for the weekend. If you can, play that Buffalo defense. On the Washington side of the ball, listen, man, you got problems. I don't know what to tell you on the Washington side of the ball. But yes, it does look like I may be having some internet connection issues. So if I've lost you, I apologize for that. Cleveland at Denver, we've already analyzed that. Green Bay at the Chargers, I think this is just a high points game. Again, I see a lot of scoring this weekend. Detroit and Oakland, tons of scoring. Tampa Bay and Seattle, tons of scoring. Buffalo, Washington, listen, again, that Buffalo defense, they're really the only person I would play in that game is the Buffalo defense. I don't like anybody else. The Washington defense is pretty strong against the run. I'm not huge on Devin Singletary. I hate Josh Allen as a pass thrower. I think they're a win by defense team. Those are the guys that I like. New England and Baltimore. Again, we've talked about this. I think, listen, Baltimore, I like Tom Brady to finally really have to throw the ball this week because I think, and I like what's his name? Marquise Brown back in the game because I think New England's going to have to stack the box. They're going to have to bring pressure to try and contain. And when they try and contain Lamar, he's going to let the ball loose. And guess the second that defense sucks up, guess who's going to fly down the field? Marquise Brown. I like Marquise Brown. And finally, Dallas versus the Giants. Listen, I like the Giants to score some points in this because, again, they have all the complementary pieces back. But Dallas very strong against the pass, and they've added Bennett with this pass rush. It might be a long day. In fact, so what might really be happening, the big scorer might be Evan Ingram, but you got to play Saquon. And on the Dallas side of the ball, listen, I'm not convinced you play Michael Gallup, but Amari Cooper right now is the number one receiver projected for the weekend. I think that sticks. I think Amari Cooper has a big day. I think Dak has a big day. And look for Jason Witten to sneak in there and get a touchdown. Well, guys, listen, this is everything I believe. This is everything I feel. This is everything I think. Thank you guys very much for tuning in. This has been Fantasy Football Harsh Reality. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram and Twitter at FFHR Podcast on both platforms. And, of course, follow it throughout the week because I'm constantly saying things, putting in notes, etc. as often as I can. Sorry I've been remiss about doing this as often as I'd love to do this. I've just been working so much. Thank you, Jesus, for all the good work. And you guys, listen, happy fantasy football. Have a great Sunday.